Recorded.
Yes, hello. So I just saw another video that makes me want to jump on here and share some thoughts.
Welcome to Within the Frame, where we bring the most pressing issues across the globe into focus. I'm Kim Mo-gan. For the first time in history, the number of single-person households in South Korea has surpassed 8 million, now accounting for more than 1 in every 3 homes nationwide. Behind this headline lies a dramatical social shift cutting across all generations, from seniors aging alone to young adults navigating life independently amid economic and housing pressures. While this trend reflects changing lifestyle, it also raises serious questions about isolation, inequality, and the unraveling of community bonds. So as the traditional family unit becomes less central, are our policies and safety nets keeping pace?
I want you to take note of what you said, which is unraveling of community bonds. Okay. Because that is what I'm going to talk about. There is a biological aspect of this. Okay. There is a biological aspect of this, and that is what this video is going to be about.
The traditional family unit becomes less central. Are our policies and safety nets keeping pace? And what kind of long-term vision is needed as this new normal reshapes the country's demographic and social landscape? For a deeper discussion on this, we connect to Kim Jo-eun, Associate Professor at the KDI School of Public Policy and Management. A big welcome, Professor.
Thank you for having me.
And also joining us is Ji-sun Baek, Research Scientist at the Max Planck Institute for Demographic Research. Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
So for the first time, South Korea has actually officially entered the era of 8 million single-person households. So from a public policy perspective, Professor Kim, how could the shift reshape how we define family, community, and even social responsibility?
I think this shift really calls for a fundamental rethink of how we approach welfare in South Korea. For a long time, our system has been built on the assumption that families take care of each other, whether it means raising children or supporting aging parents.
Okay.
In a society where living alone is becoming normalized, I think that assumption no longer holds. So which means that we need to move away from family-centered welfare model toward one that is more community and state-based. And this becomes especially clear when we look at housing policy. Most housing in Korea currently is still designed around the idea of nuclear family, typically parents with 2 kids, but that no longer reflects how people actually live today. So
Okay. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. This idea that the unraveling of community and all that's right. Something is, and the biological aspect of this, the biological pinnings, the biological underpinnings of what you are witnessing, okay? Because this is global. Okay. The human, right, is a community, is a communal organism. Yeah. But it has been invaded by something that is not communal. And in the lie that these things are human, they told us that the nuclear family is the community, right? That the nuclear family is the social community. It is the unit of community. It is a unit of family, right? It is a unit of society, but it is not. Is not. So let me describe from the perspective of an organism, right? The one and singular purpose of an organism, any organism, is to, right, survive. Is to live and to survive. And every single biological process is designed for that singular purpose. There is no other purpose for which biological processes are propagated. There is no other purpose for which biological processes are propagated. That means everything you engage in should promote your survivability, should optimize your survivability. That is the singular rule of biology. So you can see how by the males behaving that the way that they do, murdering, all this exploiting, right? The lack of safety in society. That is already unbiological, right? That is already unbiological. But here is the undertext that is missing, right? Your biology works that way. Your biology works singularly for your survival, right? And other organisms' biology works for their survival. And there is a conflict of those two interests in nature, because the way each organism can survive is to get energy from other organisms. Ooh, goodness gracious. Oh, goodness, I am preaching. It is to get energy from other organisms. When we eat food, when we eat plants, all of that stuff, bad news to the vegetarians and the vegans. You are eating a living organism, okay? Bad news. You are consuming a living organism. You are being a predator of that living organism, right? So there is the conflict. That means that in anything, and because the definition of an organism, let's look at here. The definition of an organism. I'm about to pull that up on your screen right now, okay? Definition of an organism is a self-contained, in the grand theater of life, from the microscopic to the majestic, every living entity that breathes, feeds, grows, responds, and reproduces is called an organism, right? But that's not really true. It is self-contained. That means you have to do all these things and you have to be self-contained. What that means is that you don't need another individual to propagate your biological processes. The reason cells are not an organism is because why they do all these things right here, right? Cells breed, they feed, they grow, they respond, and they reproduce. When they mitosis, they are reproducing. Okay, they do all those things, but they are not self-contained, which means that they interact with other cells in order to get these things done. You do not do that. You do not need to interact with other organisms insofar as those organisms are not dead. Self-contained, yeah, these here cells, they interact with other living cells, but you don't need to interact with another living organism to propagate your biological systems, to propagate your biological processes. This is what makes you an organism. This is what makes you a self-contained entity. Because you do not have to interact with another, with another living organism. That is what makes you self-contained. Okay? So that means that this very thing, this very self-containment is supposed to do all these things on its own. Let me repeat that. It's supposed to do all these things. It breeds, feeds, grows, responds, and reproduces all its own. Now you can see how sexual reproduction is already what? Unnatural to that. Yeah? So, but everything is supposed to propagate your survival. And so when as organisms evolve, so that means that when you evolve as an organism, right? That means when you evolve as an organism, right? Because your biology only works for your survival, right? But it doesn't, even though biology exists in other organisms, even though what's happening with them is it's also biology, right? When we talk about biology, we're talking about the organism's biology, usually. 90 out of 10 times, 90 out of 100 times, we're talking about the organism's self-contained biology, right? So that means that if you are going to evolve things that are going to propagate your survival, that are going to help your survival, it will be in a self-contained manner. It will be self-contained. Okay. So you needing other, that means that you needing other, males to reproduce with you. That is not being self-contained. But you also see that you are supposed to be an organism. So that means that they're broken that barrier. But that's not really the point of this video. The point of this video is, again, why community is breaking. And even though I just told you that all of these things are supposed to happen in a self-contained in a self-contained entity, yeah, there is also this aspect of interacting with other humans because we are communal. But those things, even though they are the other humans that you are interacting with, they are not doing any of this with you. They are not doing any of these things with you. They are doing it on their own, and you are coming together, right, to help you do all these things better. But outside, you get that? On the outside, so that it doesn't affect your internal biology. That is the difference here. That is why you can be communal and it doesn't affect your biology. That is why you can be both communal and a self-contained living system. So the males are not doing that. They have to come inside of you, which is breaking the barriers of natural law. But biology follows natural law. That is why it is designed the way it does. It followed natural law. That is why it works the way it does, right? So even though you are an organism, right? This communal thing is still helping your survival, because again, the entire purpose of you engaging in all of these things, right, is what the singular purpose of survival to begin with. So your biology found a way to do these things and also optimize your survival further. It found a way to behave in a self-contained manner and also optimize your survival by engaging in things outside of its environment. So it is an environmental thing. It is a way to respond to your environment. That is a communal thing, right? That is a communal thing. But here's the thing that I want to get to, the actual biology behind that. Now, the self-containment, that is what is the most critical part of an organism. The other parts are simply to optimize. The other parts are to optimize your survival. These things are what you need, or what are essential for your survival. The other parts, the communal, the things, right, when you interact with other organisms, right, they are to optimize it. They are not essential for it. They are to optimize it, right? So that means that because they are not critical to it, when those things, and it doesn't matter what it is, those environmental things, right? When they fail, here's the real biology. When those environmental things, when they fail, you default to this. You default to this. You retract engaging in those behaviors and go back to being a self-contained living system again. That is what is happening here. Is what is happening here. The males having invaded us and introduced all these non-human things, right? Because again, our biology evolved a way to optimize our survival, right? Including those environmental factors like communalism, yeah? So when the males introduced all their own environmental nonsense, that then reduce our survivability, right? We are now retracting back to the organism. We are now retracting back to the individual self-contained living organism. That is what is happening. And the males have introduced so much that being communal no longer helps anybody. Being communal gets you killed. That's what's happening with relationships with males. The reason I'm up here telling you about these things is because I've noticed that because the degree to which I have not interacted with males is the degree to which my life has not been threatened. Right? And all the ones who have engaged intimately with males, right? They all have their lives threatened to a well, not all of them, but a great deal of them have their survivability reduced, remarkably reduced. That means the communal factor, right? It no longer is helping us survive. It is, in fact, what de-optimized our survival. So now we are retracting back to the basic organism. Excuse me, I'll be right back. When men say things like, humans are communal, they're, we are communal, we're social organisms, right? They refuse to understand that cannot include them. Oh, damn it. Oops, did I say that out loud? They refuse to believe that cannot include them because they are parasitizing us. Because when we engage with them, when we engage in the communal process, right, with them, what ends up happening is they are killing us and therefore de-optimizing our survivability, which means that we have no incentive to what? To engage in that behavior. We now have no incentive to engage in that behavior because every behavior that you engage in is supposed to optimize your survivability. The reason you reproduce is not because you're just there to just, reproduce. It is because it optimizes your survival. Because who else is going to create that community if not you? Is a gorilla supposed to create your human community for you? What about a broccoli plant? Is a broccoli plant supposed to create that community for you? No, because only you can make more of you. When you copy a paper, for instance, the only thing you get from that copy is another copy of the same paper. You don't copy a publication about organisms, right? And then magically it becomes a publication about cells. You understand that? You copy something to get the very thing of that thing. So when males even tell us that, well, you're supposed to reproduce to make more humans. No, you're supposed to reproduce to make more of you, boo boo. Which also means that you're not supposed to reproduce to be making males. You are not supposed to be making males because you are only female. A male is not the same as you. So it really breaks my heart when women are going around being proud of producing males, producing only males. And I'm like, you have literally not reproduced. You have literally not reproduced. You have not made another one of you. That's insane. When men tell you you're supposed to, reproduce for the sake of society, they are literally telling you that they're literally telling you their own biology, which is they make you reproduce them for their good. They are telling you what is good for them, not what optimizes your survival. They are telling you what optimizes their survival. Because their entire design is to make you replicate them. That is literally what they are saying. That is the biology behind what they are saying. You're supposed to reproduce for society. F that. That all the way to hell. You are supposed to reproduce you. You're supposed to reproduce your mom. You're not supposed to reproduce your daughter. Well, you're supposed to reproduce your daughter because then that's what becomes your daughter. You're not supposed to reproduce your pastor or anything. You are supposed to reproduce you. That is because only you can make you. Is what is happening in society, because the males have introduced things that have so badly de-optimized. They have so badly de-optimized. All the extraneous thing, all the extraneous biology that we engage in to optimize our survival, that we are now retracting back to the basic organism. This is what I wanted to jump on here and say. Let's go back to that.
The number of single-person households in South Korea has surpassed 8 million, now accounting for more than 1 in every 3 homes nationwide. Behind this headline lies a dramatical social shift cutting across all generations, from seniors aging alone to young adults navigating life independently amid economic and housing pressures. While this trend reflects changing lifestyle, it also raises serious questions about isolation, inequality, and the unraveling of community bonds.
Yeah, that is what is happening. Because the community bonds is an extra stuff on top of being on top of your normal survival mechanisms, right? It is an extra stuff. It is an extra stuff, and which means that it becomes an optional thing, which means it is optional. And when it starts to fail, then it no longer becomes optional. Actually, it becomes a necessity for you to go back to the individualism. And that's why it's happening all over the globe. Because once people saw that it wasn't supposed to be like that, right? They realized how suboptimal they have been living. And even if people did not actually, if social media did not happen, it was going to happen anyway. It was going to happen anyway, because if you looked at the graph of fertility I got lucky one time and I was able to put up the graph from the 1800s, right? And what you saw in it was like a very steep decline, that he had been declining since the 1800s. That fertility had been declining since the 1800s, before social media. He was eventually going to get to that stage. It was an inevitability that was coming. What I'm telling you is that you are not meant to be with these males. If you try to engage, you need to understand something else. If we try to engage in this communal thing without the males, yeah, they are going to kill us. Let me repeat that, because that is one of the things that they are exploiting in order to optimize their survival. They are exploiting that in us to optimize their survival. So if we're going to say that we are going to engage in that without them, they are going to kill us. That is literally what is behind the lesbian, the ban of, gayness, right? Lesbianism. It's not because they don't like, it's not really because of gay men that they're doing that, right? It is actually because of lesbian women. That is engaging in communalness without the males. You understand this? They are going to kill us. That is coming. I don't know if you guys know that. The subtext of that is that is eventually going to come. That's what they have been doing. That's what they have been doing since God knows how long. Since probably when they realized that it was even a thing. And the reason it's a thing, right? The reason it's a thing is even because of them. The reason it's a thing is even because I suspect that it's because of them. That is what is happening. I just wanted to jump on here to let you know, that this is going to continue. What you're witnessing is it's not a fluke. It is biology. That is biology. And one of the things, biology is, because it is based in nature, right? It used nature as its basis. That means that it is eternal. That means that it's going to work exactly the way it will always work, right? And one of the things that we need to know now is that eventually, as the males continue to exist amongst us, the eventuality of that, the inevitability of that, is that we females are going to go extinct. Not them, because they are not of the same race as us, of the same species. Females, our species, is going to go extinct. Just want to jump on here to say this really quickly. Please get into the the comment section and tell me what you think of this.